we have taken the help of ChatGPT. Bigotry in Pakistan, as in many other countries, manifests in various forms, including religious, ethnic, gender based, and sectarian biases. The issue is rooted in historical, political, and socio-economic context, and it continues to affect the country's social fabric and development. Here are some key aspects. Number one, religious bigotry in Pakistan. Blasphemy laws. Pakistan's blasphemy laws are often criticized for being misused against religious minorities, including Christians, Hindus, Ahmadis, and Shias. Ahmadiyya community. Declared non Muslim by constitutional amendment in 1974, Ahmadis face systemic discrimination and are often targets of violence and social ostracism. So, there are many more bigotries pervading in Pakistan. Hindu and Christian minorities. Forced conversions, abductions, and attacks on places of worship are recurring issues for these communities. Sectarian violence. Sunni Shia sectarian tensions have led to targeted killings, especially against the Hazara Shia community in Balochistan. Number two, ethnic bigotry. Balochistan and Sindh. Ethnic minorities, particularly Baluch and Sindh people, often claim political and economic marginalization, leading to tensions with the federal government. Pashtun discrimination. Pashtun communities have voiced grievances about profiling and discrimination, particularly in the context of anti terrorism operations. Muhajirs. Urdu speaking migrants from India, simply called Muhajirs, have faced political and social challenges, especially in urban centers like Karachi. Number three, gender discriminations, patriarchy, and violence against women. Gender inequality remains pervasive with honor killings, domestic violence, and workplace harassment being widespread issues. Legal discrimination. Women often face hurdles in accessing justice due to cultural norms and biases within the legal system. Transgender community. While Pakistan has made progressive moves like recognizing a third gender, transgender individuals still face significant discrimination and violence. Number four, political and social polarization. Use of religion in politics. Religious rhetoric is frequently employed for political gain, exacerbating divisions and intolerance. Media and education. Biased narratives in media and educational curricula often perpetuate stereotypes and prejudice against minorities. Number five, efforts to address bigotry. Legislative reforms. Initiatives like the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2018 and efforts to regulate hate speech show some progress. Civil society. NGOs and activists worked to promote tolerance and counter extremism. Judicial interventions. In some cases, courts have stepped in to provide justice, although their effectiveness remains inconsistent. Now, challenges ahead for Pakistan. Systemic reforms in education, law enforcement, and judiciary are critical to addressing ingrained biases. Political will and societal awareness are necessary to combat bigotry at all levels. Interpersonal pressure and human rights advocacy can also play a role in encouraging progress. Bigotry is a deeply rooted issue, but continued efforts towards inclusivity, justice, and education can pave the way for a more tolerant and equitable society in Pakistan. Certainly, here is an in depth analysis of bigotry in Pakistan across different dimensions. Number one, religious bigotry, blasphemy laws. Pakistan's blasphemy laws, particularly sections 295B and 295C of the Pakistan Penal Code, are widely criticized for their ambiguity and misuse. Accusations often lead to mob violence and vigilant justice. High profile cases like that of Asiya Bibi, a Christian woman falsely accused of blasphemy, underscore the dangers of these laws. Critics argue that these laws suppress freedom of expression and are disproportionately used against minorities. Ahmadiyya persecution. The 1974 constitutional amendment and subsequent laws criminalize the Ahmadiyya community's religious practices, including calling themselves Muslims or using Islamic symbols. Ahmadiyya places of worship and graves are regularly desecrated, and community members face harassment in education, employment, and public life. Hindu and Christian discrimination. Forced conversions of Hindu and Christian girls are reported frequently, particularly in Sindh province. Minorities often lack repression in decision making processes and face barriers in accessing education and employment. Sectarian violence. Sunni Shia divisions have fueled violence for decades, with groups like Laskar-e Jangvi targeting Shia communities, particularly Hazara Shias. Sectarian rhetoric often finds space in religious sermons and political speeches, worsening divides. Ethnic bigotry, Baluch and Sindhi marginalization. Balochistan, despite being resource rich, remains the least developed province. Baloch people claim their resources are exploited without benefiting their region. Enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings of Baloch activists are frequently reported. Sindhis have raised concerns over cultural erosions and economic domination by other groups, particularly in urban areas like Karachi. Pashtun profiling. Pashtuns, often associated with tribal areas, have faced racial profiling in anti terrorism campaigns. The Pashtun Tahafuz movement (PTM) emerged to highlight these grievances, including extrajudicial killings and military harassment. Muhajir grievances. Muhajirs, or Urdu speaking migrants from India, have historically faced marginalization despite their early prominence in politics and bureaucracy. Tensions between Muhajirs and native Sindhis have occasionally led to violent clashes, particularly in Karachi. Gender and sexual orientation discrimination. Violence against women. Pakistan is ranked among the worst countries for gender equality, with rampant violence such as honor killings, acid attacks, and domestic abuse. Particular norms often hinder women's participation in education and the workforce. Transgender rights. The Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2018 marked progress, but social stigma remains pervasive. Transgender individuals frequently face physical violence, exclusion, and limited economic opportunities. LGBT plus LGBTQ plus community. Homosexuality is criminalized under Pakistan's penal code, and societal attitudes are overwhelmingly hostile. LGBTQ plus individuals face threats, harassments, and lack of legal protections. Institutionalized bigotry, educational curriculum. Textbooks often promote biased narratives glorifying certain religious or ethnic groups while marginalizing others. Efforts to reform curricula have faced resistance from conservative factions. Judicial and law enforcement bias. Cases involving minorities or marginalized groups often face delays or biased rulings. Law enforcement is frequently accused of overlooking or being complicit in crimes against minorities. Media and pop culture. Media representations often reinforce stereotypes portraying minorities or marginalized groups in negative or tokenistic ways. Socio-political context. Religious and political parties. Groups like Jamaat-e Islami and Tehrik-e Labbaik Pakistan or TLP use religion as a political tool, often inciting bigotry. The political reliance on religious rhetoric undermines secular governance and exacerbates divisions. Radicalization and extremism. Madrasas and extremist groups continues to indoctrinate youth, perpetuating intolerance and bigotry. Recent trends and incidents. The rise of social media has both amplified hate speech and provided a platform for minority voices. Protests and movements like Aurat Mars and PTM signal growing resistance against systemic discrimination. Solutions and path forward. Legal reforms. Repeal or amend blasphemy laws and other discriminatory legislation. Strengthen laws against hate speech and forced conversions. Educational reform. Revise school curricula to promote inclusivity, critical thinking, and respect for diversity. Increase awareness programs to combat prejudice. Empowerment of marginalized communities. Provide affirmative action in education and employment for minorities, ensure fair representation in political and administrative roles. Role of civil society, NGOs, activists, and media can work to raise awareness, support victims, and challenge discriminatory practices. International pressure, global human rights organizations, and foreign governments can press Pakistan to address issues of bigotry. Conclusion. Bigotry in Pakistan is a complex issue deeply intertwined with history, politics, and culture. While challenges persist, growing awareness and prefer activism offer help for a more inclusive and equitable society. Now let's more talk about the bigotry in Pakistan. Expanding on bigotry in Pakistan, it is essential to examine the historical, structural, and cultural dimensions that contribute to the issue and its perpetuation. Historical context, partition legacy. The 1947 partition of India and Pakistan left deep communal scars, fostering mistrust and bigotry, especially along religious lines. The influx of refugees and subsequent identity politics exacerbated divisions. Military influence. Military rule and state policies have often leveraged a religion and ethnicity to consolidate power, sidelining minorities and dissenting voices. Islamization policies during Zia-ul Haq's regime from 1977 to 1988, strict Islamic laws were introduced, institutionalizing religious discrimination and marginalizing minorities. Institutionalized bigotry. Educational curriculum. Textbooks often propagate biased views, glorifying one group while demonizing others. This indoctrination from an early age reinforces prejudice. Blasphemy laws. While intended to protect religious sentiments, these laws are disproportionately used against minorities and personal rebels. Quota systems. While some quotas exist for minorities, they are often insufficient and inadequately implemented, leading to continued marginalization in employment and education. Religious intolerance. Anti Ahmadi campaigns. The state sanctioned marginalization of Ahmadis includes prohibiting them from identifying as Muslims and restrictions on their religious practices, hate speech, and uh, violence. Extremist groups frequently incite violence through hate speech, often with little to no accountability. Attacks on religious sites, churches, temples, and Shia mosques have been targeted in sectarian and anti minority violence. Ethnic and regional disparities. Balochistan. The Baloch people face political and economic neglect, with their natural resources exploited without adequate benefits to the local population. This has led to a separatist insurgency. Pashtun profiling. Pashtuns are often stereotyped as militants or extremists, leading to discriminatory treatment, especially in urban areas. Sindhi and Saraiki marginalization. These ethnic groups frequently express grievances over being sidelined in federal policies and development projects. Gender based bigotry. LGBTQ plus community, despite some legal protections for transgender individuals, societal stigma against the LGBTQ plus community remains severe. Child marriage, cultural practices, and lacks lacks enforcement of laws and widespread child marriages, disproportionately affecting young girls. Honor killings. Cultural norms perpetuate honor based violence, which is often ignored or condoned by local authorities. Media and bigotry. Sensationalism. The media sometimes fuels bigotry by presenting biased or inflammatory narratives. Censorships. Voices advocating for minority rights or challenging mainstream narratives are often silenced under the pretext of maintaining order. Civil society and activism, human rights organizations. Groups like the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, HRCP, and Aurat Foundation work tirelessly to document and combat bigotry. Grassroots movements. Movements like Pashtun Tahafuz Movement (PTM) highlight ethnic profiling and rights violations despite facing resistance from the state, youth, and social media. The younger generation increasingly uses social media to challenge bigotry and promote diversity. Role of the international community. Pressure on reforms. International bodies like the United Nations and Amnesty International frequently call out human rights violations, pushing for accountability. Aid and education. International partnerships can promote inclusive education and economic opportunities for marginalized groups. Bigotry in Pakistan is a multifaceted problem requiring a comprehensive approach involving legal reforms, education, media accountability, and grassroots advocacy. Recognizing and addressing these issues is essential for building a more inclusive and equitable society. So, this is all about the bigotry present, persistent, and pervasive in the social in the social strata of Pakistan. So I do hope Pakistan will be able to solve all these problems today or tomorrow. And you see, Pakistan had a long-standing problem between Pakistan and Afghanistan. There has been a very serious crisis, long-term crisis, and multifaceted problems, which is geographical, political, security, and economic related. Between the two countries, especially the Durrell line, has been a big issue of concern. So here I am going to talk about some problems between Pakistan and Afghanistan. The Durrell Line dispute. Durrell Line is the line between Pakistan and Afghanistan, which was determined in 1893 by the British time, and Afghanistan historically did not recognize this line, and there has been a long standing tension between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Terrorism and security issue is another big deal for Pakistan and Afghanistan. Afghanistani Talibani rule is, after being instituted, uh, had been had made the relation between Afghanistan and Pakistan more complex and complicated and very much uh, controversial. Pakistan always accuses that Afghanistan is always introducing or launching terrorist activities by uh, Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan or TTP. On the other hand, Afghanistan claims that Pakistan is interfering with the internal affairs of Afghanistan, and Pakistan is supporting the Talibani government. There is also immigrants crisis between Afghanistan and Pakistan. During the Talibani rule in Afghanistan and due to security causes, lakhs of people, hundreds of millions of Afghan refugees have taken their shelter in Pakistan. And due to the overpressure of these Talibani refugees in Pakistan, Pakistan's economic and social systems have faced multiple pressure. Geographic geopolitics and geopolitical competition between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Like India and China relations, the regional Afghanistan and Pakistan are also facing some regional problems of facing some regional power, which are going to threaten their internal security forces. Inside Afghanistan, there is the influences of India and Pakistan with a lot of concern has been making this relation more critical and more disputable. Recent excitements between Afghanistan and Pakistan. There have been a lot of conflicts during 2023 and 2024. in the border areas between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Pakistan has already closed her borders with Afghanistan and have taken various security measures which have influenced the movement of the common people and the social life and the trades life of the both countries. But there are also some possibilities of these problems. Number one solution is diplomacy and discussion. Diplomacy and discussion between two countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan, have been taken initiatives to move their conflict relations to further better one. And the role of international community, United Nations or the regional organizations like SARC can also play a bilateral role in solving the problems existent between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Joint coalition campaign against terrorism. Terrorism between these two countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan, should also be addressed with proper measures and effectiveness. So, and recently there has been a bombing in Pakistan and Afghanistan. Bombing and military tensions have risen. Pakistan accuses that Afghanistan, from their Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan, has been launching terrorist activities against them. In this context, Pakistan has also launched an airstrike in the Paktika province of Afghanistan, which has led to 46 people dead. On the other hand, the Defense Ministry of Afghanistan has informed us that they have also taken their avenge on Pakistan and they have several times attacked Pakistan. This reciprocal attacks on each other country has also made the situation more volatile and more critical, which is creating regional instability between those two countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan. The experts, the geopolitical experts or the politicians have some opinions that to solve these situations between these two feuding nations, diplomacy and negotiation are a must. So I hope in this video, all the information that I have delivered in this video are taken from ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a very effective apps which can give you instant the needed, accurate, concise information that you want. So anybody who is watching this video should try to use ChatGPT because it gives you instant access and concise information about any particular topic. So thank you very much for watching this video, and once again bye bye. And if you this channel is for education, and education is like an entertainment, so this channel is also an entertainment channel. If you like this channel, you can comment, you can like the videos, and you can say you can also subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. Wishing you all good health and good hygiene.